Once again, I'm an author, like you mentioned, and I do all the other couple of things on the side as well. That has to do a lot with my writing,
Right.
and stuff. So lately, I have released my fifth book, my fifth publication, being Healing Wounds.
Okay.
And Healing Wounds basically speaks on the traumas that we go through in life, how to identify your traumas, your wounds, first of all, your wounds, and then your traumas, your triggers, your scars, and how, and being able to identify where you are in all these categories. Then you'll be able to know, how do I deal with myself? How do I deal with other people? And how do people deal with me?
Right.
And how do I move on with life in this situation that I'm in?
Right.
Yes.
And how does one identify that there are underlying issues? There's something happening to me here.
I think we live in a society, Ronanon, that's a very bit challenging,
Right.
because we all want to be okay. We
Yes.
all want to look fine. You know, nothing is wrong, but deep down, a lot of us are in pain. Deep down, a lot of us are dealing with issues that we can't even tell people about. And I always say that the first thing that you can do is to being real with yourself,
Right.
and admitting to yourself that, I'm not okay. You know, when you look at the blurb of my book, one of the things that I say is that we need to get to a point where we pass through the facade of the smiles and the makeups and the designer clothes and everything else, and ask you, Joey, are you okay?
Right.
Are you fine? And you also being able to put yourself in a space where you can ask yourself, Trish, are you okay? Am I okay? And then admitting, okay, no, I think there's something wrong here. Then being able to sit down and admit, where did I miss it? What happened to me? Who did what to me? Or what happened
Right.
to me?
And that begs me now to get an
Yes.
appreciation of your journey.
Yes.
Right? Obviously, there was something that inspired you to
Yeah.
write.
Yeah.
And just your emotional experience when it started,
Yeah.
what's going on to this day.
I think it has a lot to do with my life. I'm a village girl from Bobonong,
Okay.
and growing up there, I had my own issues, my family background. My parents divorced when I was 6 years old. 13 years old, I had a neighbor who said, no, and at 13 years old, I have no idea what boys are. I'm just a little flamboyant little girl, debate and everything, but quite clueless when it comes to certain things.
Right.
But you find yourself being followed by these things that hurt you. You then grow up. My mother passes on. That's another pain added. Then I get pregnant while I'm still in varsity.
Right.
The issues of relationships, mjolo and everything.
Right, right.
And emotional abuse and physical abuse in the relationship. And all those keeps piling and piling and piling. And to you still want to say that I'm fine, but you're not okay. You know, you want to go through these things and be okay, like somebody who hasn't gone through the trauma that you've gone through. And society, by the way, expects you to be fine. It doesn't matter what happened to you. Joey must come to work and Joey must be fine.
Right.
Gore Joey is not anybody's business to a certain extent, and that's just what society places on us, and it becomes a burden after a burden after a burden. And you live with this heavy weight
That's
of
where the
trauma.
heavy weight is,
That's where the
right.
heavy weight is. And then by the time you crash and do drastic things, like we have been seeing things happening, everybody says, but Joey is such a nice person. What happened to Joey? No, but she was just with me yesterday. She was okay. What happened? Kante, I've been going through all these emotions and all these many years of trauma that never gets addressed. Remember, we are in a society, we're getting warmed up to the issue of what you call it, of social workers, and psychologists and what is
psychiatrists,
and stuff.
Yep.
It's only now that you're starting to appreciate it. But how many people have gone through so many years and we even buried them and they never got to tell somebody, I'm not okay.
And for you, it was at what point where you actually now said to yourself, and then you started now working on yourself and
Yeah.
becoming a better version of yourself?
I think for me, it has been a journey from a very young age of now appreciating, okay, I think I have issues I need to deal with. I need to face myself when it comes to this.
Right.
There are certain behaviors that you will display. that's a sign that I'm not okay. And all these little things, I don't take nonsense type of things. Then you realize, hey, Trish, you're not okay. Check yourself. You're not okay. So personally, I then started going on a journey where I realized you need to introspect, you need to take stock of yourself, you need to be able to look forward and say, Trish, who did what to you? Because 90% of the time, there is a place where somebody did something to you, and there is a place where you need to take responsibility for what has been done to you to be able to move on.
Right.
And that's where the healing journey starts. Yeah.
Now, you've written 5 publications. Yes. This one being the fifth one.
Fifth one, yes.
Can I say then that writing was your tool of overcoming your previous experience? Tell us more. Tell us
safely so. Writing is one of those things where I remember when I was going through, I had lost my spiritual mother.
Right.
I call her my second mother, and I've lost my sister.
Right.
So when I was going through my own, depression, I looked down at it. Now I had to face myself. I had dealt with 2 bereavements in 2 months, and life had to go on. I have to go back to work. I have to go back to being a mom, to being a sister, to everything else that everybody expects me to be. And when lockdown comes in, I crashed. I literally had a lung collapse. Right then within 30 minutes, what they described was, wow. But it happened in a space of 30 minutes.
Right.
And then I realized they can't diagnose what caused it, but I knew I'm not okay, because then I was in a season where now I have to deal with all the emotions I've been storing, that I've been pushing aside so that I go to court. That I've been putting aside so that I can get on the pulpit and preach. Put aside so that I can be a mother. So all these things, now I'm in my room, locked up in my room, crying every day.
Right.
And my body couldn't even take it. My mind couldn't even take it. I crashed. Then I realized. So when I went for counseling, I started doing counseling because it had to be even over the phone, because I was critical at that point. So
but go ahead. It's quite a sad story. Go ahead, Emma.
So while I was, the lady said to me, I need you to write a letter to your mom, to your sister, to everybody that you think you have lost.
Okay.
Write down a letter to them and tell them how you feel. As I wrote these things down, man, it was a hospital on its own. It was therapy on its own.
You were rebuilding,
I was regenerating. And because I was now
Emma.
sitting down and looking at this thing, I got to a point where I became honest with myself. Wow. And in the midst of me writing down how I felt, I managed to realize what I lost in those people. Because usually we don't realize that when you lose someone, the first thing that you remember is the memories that you had with that person.
Yep.
And then you keep on going over and over these things, because you realize there's a place that this person had. You lost something. Until you count the cost of what you lost, you will not be able to comprehend the emotions that you're going through. So then I was able to sit down and say, okay, I lost this woman. This woman was this to me.
Right.
I lost this other woman. This woman was this to me. I lost this person. Sometimes we want people to be something. I lost this person. I wanted this person to be this to me.
Right.
But now I'm here. How do I move forward?
Right. I want to ask you this as the last question. Time is really not on our side. They're so going to kill me for this one.
Yeah.
But besides just writing, what other strategies do you think one could employ to be able to overcome some of the experiences that create this whole hakeshap?
Yeah. One of the things that I do, I run an initiative called Sound of Worship that teaches about worship.
Right.
And I've come to understand that everybody has something that they bow down to. And that thing that you bow down to is the one that is going to be able to help you identify who you are, and for you to be able to find your source. So what I would say is, find your source. Then you will start healing. Then you will know where to go from there.
Trish, thank you so much for chatting to us. I wish we could speak a lot more. I wanted to talk about the other publications, but we'll find time to chat to you.
Perfectly. Thank you so much, Joy.
Right, and that's how we come to the end of this conversation. We're just basically talking about tools of overcoming trauma and emotional imbalance and the like. And we're just getting a story from an author who has opted or gone to the pen to be able to relieve, and now she's back and she's better. And that's how we come to the end of Botswana Connects. In Context follows next. Let's do this again tomorrow. Bye.
Crochet, a creative form of art that makes threads come to life. This versatile art involves making fabric by looping and intertwining thread